the sun was still rising when the nightmare began. The world around him blurred into chaos, the sound of tires screeching, a woman's panic scream, and then the chilling voice that froze every drop of blood in his body. "Don't move, or she gets hurt." The words hung in the air like a death sentence, and for a moment, everyone stopped breathing. Standing in the middle of the corporate plaza, with glass towers reflecting the golden light of dawn, Ryan Cole's heart thudded painfully against his ribs. His little girl, Anna, no older than 6, stood a few meters away, a stranger's arm locked around her tiny shoulders, a glint of steel pressed against her neck. Before we go deeper into this story, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the strength of love even in impossible moments, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. To your support helps us keep sharing stories that remind the world that compassion still matters. Ryan wasn't a man who scared easily. He had once served as a firefighter before an accident left him limping and unable to return to duty. After losing his wife to cancer 2 years later, life became a quiet storm. Every morning began with exhaustion, and every night ended with the ache of trying to be both mother and father to Anna. He worked as a maintenance worker at Gervin Tech, one of the city's largest tech companies, fixing what others ignored: leaking pipes, jammed elevators, the flickering lights in hallways no one remembered. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. And it kept food on their small kitchen table. That morning had started like any other breakfast, with too much peanut butter, Anna's laughter echoing through their tiny apartment as she tried to tie her shoes, and Ryan's soft reminder to never forget her pink lunchbox. He'd promised to pick her up after school, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. The plaza had been bustling when he arrived at work, carrying his toolbox toward the back entrance. He didn't see the commotion until it was too late. A man, disheveled and desperate, clutching a small child while shouting at the stunned security guards. It took Ryan less than a second to recognize the child's voice. "Daddy!" Anna's cry shattered the air. His world tilted. Security froze, afraid to act. The man was trembling, his grip on the knife unsteady. His clothes were ragged, his face drawn and haunted. "I don't want to hurt her," he shouted, his voice cracking. "I just need to talk to Mr. Gervin. He ruined everything." From the top of the steps, a tall man in an expensive suit appeared. Alexander Gervin, the CEO himself. People whispered his name with awe and fear. The man who built an empire from nothing, known for his ruthless business tactics and cold demeanor. Even now, his face was unreadable as he looked down at the desperate scene. "Let the girl go," he said calmly, "and I'll listen." But the stranger shook his head, tears streaming down his face. "You already took my job, my house, my family, everything. You don't care about anyone. Maybe now you'll listen if you feel what I felt." The guards started to move, but Ryan raised his hand. His heart was pounding, but his voice was calm, softer than the morning breeze. "Everyone, stay still," he said. His limp made every step painful as he moved closer. His eyes never left Anna's face. She was trembling, tears pooling in her lashes. "Sweetheart, it's okay. Daddy's here." The man flinched, his grip tightening. "Don't move," he shouted again, pressing the knife slightly harder. Ryan could see the man's hand shaking violently, not out of cruelty, but fear. This wasn't a monster. It was a broken man on the edge. Ryan stopped a few feet away and knelt slowly, setting his toolbox down. "Listen to me," he said softly. "I know you don't want to hurt her. You're scared. You feel like nobody sees you, like nobody cares what's been done to you. I get that." The man's breathing hitched. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough," Ryan replied, his voice trembling with sincerity. "I know what it's like to lose everything. I lost my wife, my job, my home all in 1 year. I know what it's like to feel invisible, like screaming into a world that doesn't listen. But this," he glanced gently at Anna. "This isn't the way to be heard. You don't want this on your conscience. You just want someone to care." The plaza had gone silent. Even Alexander Gervin seemed frozen, watching as the janitor, the man most people never noticed, took control of the moment. Ryan's voice was steady, but his heart was breaking. He kept talking about pain, about hope, about how anger can blind a man until he hurts the very thing he wants to protect. Slowly, the man's hand began to tremble even more. His eyes darted from Ryan to Anna and back, then Ryan whispered the words that changed everything. Let her go, and I'll take her place. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Even Alexander's composure cracked slightly. The man blinked in confusion. You'd do that? You'd risk yourself for her? Ryan nodded. She's my daughter. She's my world. I'd do anything for her. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, the man released his grip. Anna ran straight into her father's arms, sobbing. Ryan held her tight, whispering that everything would be okay. But as the man dropped the knife and sank to his knees, Ryan saw not a villain, but a man crushed under the weight of injustice and despair. Police rushed in, handcuffing the stranger as Alexander Gervin turned away, his expression dark and unreadable. Reporters arrived minutes later, capturing the chaos, the tears, the trembling hands of a father who'd faced danger with nothing but compassion that night. As the sun dipped below the skyline, Ryan sat by Anna's bedside, brushing her hair gently as she slept. His mind replayed the day over and over. He couldn't forget the man's eyes, the pain in them. He didn't know his name, but he knew the feeling too well. Life had pushed him to a cliff, and no one had reached out. The next morning, Ryan was called to the top floor of Gervin Tech, a place he'd never been invited before. The receptionist's eyes were wide with curiosity as she led him into the CEO's office. Alexander Gervin stood by the window, the city stretching endlessly behind him. For a moment, the silence was heavy. I saw what you did yesterday, Alexander said finally, his tone oddly soft. You could have been killed. Ryan shrugged. I just did what any father would do. The CEO turned, his gaze sharp. No. Most people would have waited for someone else to act. You didn't. He paused. That man, his name was Patrick Hall. He was one of our employees. He lost his job 6 months ago after a restructuring. I didn't even know. Ryan's voice was quiet. Maybe you should. The words hung there, and for a moment, Alexander didn't speak. Then he sighed deeply, as though something heavy had cracked inside him. You're right, he said. I've been so focused on building this company, I forgot the people who built it with me. A week later, Gervin Tech announced a new community initiative, a fund to support laid-off workers, counseling programs for struggling employees, and family assistance packages. But that wasn't what shocked everyone. The true surprise came when Alexander Gervin publicly honored Ryan Cole, not just as a hero, but as someone who reminded us all that empathy is stronger than fear. He was offered a new position, head of employee welfare. Ryan didn't accept right away. He didn't see himself as a hero or a leader. He was just a dad trying to do right by his daughter. But when Anna asked, Daddy, does this mean you can help other daddies too? He smiled and said yes. Months passed, and the company culture began to change. Where there was once silence and pressure, there was now compassion and understanding. Alexander often visited Ryan's new office, not to give orders, but to listen. And sometimes, they'd talk about life, loss, and the second chances that people rarely get. One afternoon, as Ryan walked out of the building, he saw a small group of workers talking and laughing under the same plaza where everything had happened. The sun painted the city gold again, just like that morning, only this time, there was peace. Anna came running toward him, holding her pink lunchbox, her smile bright and free. Yet he picked her up, feeling the warmth of her arms around his neck. You okay, Peanut? He asked. She nodded. I'm happy, Daddy. You help people now. Ryan looked up at the towers and thought of Patrick Hall, a man who had lost everything but unknowingly changed everything for someone else. He wished he could tell him that his pain hadn't been for nothing. That sometimes, it takes one person's breaking point to awaken the kindness in another. That night, Ryan sat by the window, watching the lights flicker across the city. Life was still hard. Bills still came. Grief still lingered. But something had shifted, not just in him, but in the hearts of people who had witnessed that day. The world hadn't grown softer overnight, but maybe, just maybe, it had learned to listen. And in that quiet, with Anna asleep beside him, Ryan whispered to the stars, "Thank you for giving us another chance."